My topic of discussion is Jonathan Edwards' history and faith. He was very influential in his own time in the 1700s, but in recent years he's become more in the mainstream in our time. When you look at that, you wonder how that happens. Well, the reason is because he based his entire ministry, his life, on the truth. He followed the scriptures. He lived a Christ centered life. He did as God directed him to do, something that is never going to change. That is true today. It was true then. It's true in the future. So he had a ministry that was timeless. And even in his own time in the 1700s, he did have obstacles. The church at Northampton dismissed him because he would not compromise on his beliefs. He wound up leaving a lucrative ministry and going into a more secondary type of ministry, one they can kind of consider to be out in the wilderness, because he would not compromise his faith. It's a shining example to all of us that we should follow our faith and not what is the most convenient thing to do. I was reading an article about Jonathan Edwards that Kenneth McKema, and I apologize if I said your name wrong, wrote, and he was saying that Jonathan Edwards is the most studied person of Christian thought prior to the year 1800, and also that we have almost 4,000 works that are based upon his works, interpretations or reinterpretations of what he has written, his sermons, and his life. That is certainly a testament to Jonathan Edwards and his enduring impact over 300 years later, and he will have an impact well beyond our lifetimes. It was interesting to me to see that in the late 1800s, there were a lot of detractors, and they said that Jonathan Edwards was an embarrassment, that there was one person I was reading about, Lyman Scott. He said that he would fade away and not even be remembered. And then I was looking up Lyman Scott, and I'm finding out that he was a compromiser. He was teaching evolution from his pulpit. He was incorporating worldly things into spiritual things and not seeing a conflict there. Obviously, Jonathan Edwards would never have done that. I find it interesting too that Perry Miller has brought him, he's primarily responsible for bringing back into the mainstream now. The fact that the internet is going to be an ally in this revival of Jonathan Edwards is interesting. To think that a concept that nobody would have even had any idea would exist in 1700 is going to bring about all of us being able to read his works, study his works, things that could not have been done as easily by far in his time. And I also thought it was very interesting that Pastor Piper had a convention, and 2,000 pastors went to that convention, and they were studying the works and life of Jonathan Edwards. All of those pastors found what he said, what he preached, to be relevant to us today. That's because he based it on the truth. The truth is never going to change. That's his legacy. He based his work on the truth, and the truth is always going to be the truth. Thank you.